if you're watching this video right now, the odds are that you're single or you're planning to be single very soon. And if you're looking for a long-term relationship right now, one of the hard things to do, and in fact, one of the potentially scary things to do, is to know whether someone is safe to commit to for a long time and if they're going to make your life truly better in the long run. Because as I'm sure most of you watching probably know, there are a few things that make your life worse than a really bad partner. Because things like being cheated on, things like being nagged at, things like being abused, emotionally ignored, all these kind of things that can crop up in long-term relationships devastate us emotionally. And I'm guessing most of you now have at least been in one really awful relationship. On the plus side, a really amazing relationship can change your life dramatically. So today, I want to talk about 6 green flags that you should look for in a relationship. And I'm not just going to think about the obvious ones, like, oh, they should be generous, or choose someone who likes you back. I want to pick 6 things that I truly believe that every single person should be looking for, but most people aren't even conscious that they should be screening for this kind of stuff. So let's get started. Number 1 is you need to check that person's approval-seeking needs. Now, what do I mean by this? So we all like to get approval from the people around us, but there are people in the world, men and women, who need approval, external validation constantly, over and over and over again. And there are lots of different ways we can get it. We can get it through Instagram photos. We can get it through going out to bars and clubs. We can get it through being overly flirtatious with people without intention. We can get it by dressing very provocatively all the time and seeking attention from other people. Now, I don't want to make any of these actions in isolation out to be unhealthy all the time. I know people who love to dress up and look attractive, but they don't need the validation for it, right? They're not seeking the validation. I know people who have Instagram accounts who aren't actively validation seekers. Most are, however. Right? And so this is the thing. If you notice in a partner that they need that external validation a lot, that is a recipe for disaster. Because if they haven't learned to be internally validating, in other words, if they constantly need external validation, you will probably never be able to satisfy that need for that kind of validation. And what that means is they're constantly going to look outside the relationship for other people to make them feel attractive, for other people to make them feel desired. And that is a recipe, as you can imagine, for a future with cheating and affairs in it. The second thing that I advise everyone to do, and actually I do this in a first or second date every single time, is I ask them a little bit about their ex, like their exes. Just get them talking about it. It's supposed to be a taboo topic, never talk about an ex, but man, you learn so much about a person when you get them talking about their exes. And I'm not talking about are they still hooked, are they still, emotionally attached to their exes, because that should be an obvious one. That shouldn't be in this list. What I care about is when they talk about them, do they talk about them derisively, angrily, resentfully, right? Or do they talk about it from a much healthier emotional space, right? Do they own some of the reasons why things didn't work between them and the other person? Or do they just write that other person off as a horrible human being? Now, this is really important because it's going to teach you a lot about how they handle conflict, because almost all conflicts involve 2 sides to a story, right? Almost all conflicts do. So if they talk about their ex and they talk about all the awful things their ex did, and they don't really talk about any role that they played, they talk about themselves as an innocent bystander, then you're in trouble, right? If I talk to a woman and she just says, "Oh, my exes are assholes," she rolls her eyes, they're like big man childs and all this kind of stuff, and it's all derisive, then that's a problem. Right? And I know sometimes one person has a lot more problems than another, but if I talk to a woman and she talks about her ex and she says, yeah, he was a great guy, but he had a really bad drinking problem and he really couldn't manage it. He had a lot of pain and trauma from his childhood that he struggled to. Okay, this is okay. This doesn't bother me so much because she's not thinking about this person. She sees them still as a human being. And this is important because when you get into arguments, when things go wrong in your relationship with this person, and they will, if their go-to is to see you as a monster, is just to paint you as all bad instead of a human being who's struggling, you're never going to be able to reconcile some big arguments. And you're going to probably break up and you're suddenly going to become the asshole to the next guy she dates. Third item on this list, and this could be a little bit touchy for some people, so I'm going to try to handle it a little bit delicately, but it is that person's relationship to forgiveness. So what do I mean by this? Forgiveness is a really, really, really hard thing to master, right? When someone does us wrong, can we forgive them, right? And if for those of you who aren't familiar with what forgiveness actually is, forgiveness does not make a behavior okay, right? So forgiveness, if someone just walks up to me in the street and slaps me, forgiveness isn't me saying that's okay, you can slap me, I don't mind, right? That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is letting go of the pain and the resentment and the anger towards that person for doing you wrong. I've learned over the years, over the decades, and coaching people that those who struggle to give forgiveness are the ones who struggle in relationships, because what they do is they hold on to things that happen in relationships. I don't care who you date. That person is going to wrong you, and you're going to wrong them. You're going to hurt them. You're going to act out of line. You're going to say something hurtful. You're going to do a thing that was not appropriate. It's not because you're a bad person. We all do it when we get angry, when things get out of hand. And how that person reacts to that happening is critical to how likely you're going to be able to be to have a relationship without constantly rising resentments. And I'm sure we've all had this before, right? Where you end up holding little things against each other over and over and over again, and the resentment builds up, and eventually the relationship is untenable. So the person's relationship to that forgiveness is really, really critical. You can learn about this because we've all had traumas. We've all had people who've really wronged us. And if you listen to them talk about the people who have hurt them, you will learn whether they've just held on to the anger and resentment and cannot let go, or if it's like they're sad about it, they may be hurt about it, but they don't hold on to it anymore. It doesn't control them. It doesn't. The thoughts of resentment and anger and stuff aren't being held on to. They're let go and forgiven. Number 4 is a person's ability to openly discuss their insecurities and their flaws. And this is really quite important. You know, it can almost sound like a tacky interview question, right? But understanding what someone's flaws are or what their drawbacks are, when you ask that question, you learn a lot about someone's self-awareness levels, as well as their ability to own the areas in which they're weak and understand them. Because self-awareness is really critical in a relationship. You know, I need to know, like me personally, Damien, right? I need to know that for example, I struggle if I feel unfairly judged by someone who should know me better, right? That's a weak spot, right? I need to know that because when I feel like lashing out at someone because they've hit me in that wound specifically, an awareness that that's my weak spot gives me the ability to manage it, to talk around it, to not suddenly turn that person into the devil, the person who poked me in my really sore spot, but instead to realize, they've hurt me, but this is also partly my crap that I've brought to the table. Now, we all bring crap to the table in relationships, and if your partner cannot openly own the things that's negative about them as well as the things that are positive, that's a really big sign that there could be troubles down the line, that they will be very reactive to things without any ownership that part of their reactivity is their own crap and not yours. By the way, if you're watching this video and you'd like some specific help on your dating goals, if you're struggling to know who is the right kind of guy, whether a guy is really trustworthy or isn't, if a particular woman that you've just started dating can be trusted, I can help you go through this process step by step and get really well trained on how to spot the good ones and the bad ones. If you'd like a Zoom call with me, one-on-one coaching, go ahead and click on the link below. Number 5 on the list is a person's inability to talk about what they want. This is really dangerous because there are some people, and they don't do this on purpose, but they have a mindset of, if this person loves me, they will be able to know what it is that I want from them. And that is always a recipe for disaster in a relationship because it creates slow burning resentment in that person over time because they never fully get what they want. They never get to watch the things they want. They never get the things they want from you in bed. They never get to do the activities they want. They never get to go to the places they want or see the people they want because they're relying on you solely, or at least most of the time, to read their minds and know what's going on. I have dated people like this, and it seems like they're really easygoing, great people in the beginning, but over time, that resentment builds up. Now, that point will also relate to number 6, which is you've got to spot someone's ability to create boundaries with you, right? So it's a mistake I see guys making more than women when they choose partners, because women intuitively already tend to be drawn towards men who have healthy boundaries, right? So women can hear a guy say, no, I don't want that, and be quite clear about what his boundaries are, or say, I don't like that behavior, or do this kind of thing. And women can be drawn towards this, right? Towards this kind of boundary setting behavior. Women like it. And they often quickly lose interest in men who don't have boundaries. But when men are selecting partners, they can meet a woman who has no boundaries. In other words, a woman who never says no to you, and a woman who never says that wasn't okay with me, or rarely does that. And for men, that seems like this is a really easygoing, chill chick, right? Nothing seems to bother her. She's really awesome. This is cool. It's easygoing. But that should already be your warning sign. No one should be super easygoing with everything. People should have boundaries where they say, I didn't like that. I don't want that. I don't like this. Please don't do that again. This hurt and I don't like it. A willingness to walk away, to say, hey, if this happens again, this is a serious problem, right? That kind of harshness now and again is critical in a relationship. Because you can trust that person. And trust is really big in a relationship, and it shouldn't be a surprise. But I notice when people who, one of the big reasons people cheat, both men and women, are people who aren't good at asking for what they want. That was number 5. And number 6, not creating really good boundaries, right? So you get men and women who never get their needs met in the relationship, who constantly feel dissatisfied. And because they can't create the boundary and talk to their partner about it, they just go elsewhere, right? They don't talk to their partner and say, hey, can we bring this into the relationship? They just look elsewhere. Because for them to ask for what they want is painful and hurtful. And I feel for those people, but you shouldn't be dating them. You don't want to be dating them because that's going to create trouble. And it's another area where if that happens, you'll either get resentment building up or you'll get affairs and cheating, or probably both. Because let's face it, a lot of affairs and cheating are the result of built up resentment. Now, these 6 items are areas where most people I know haven't thought about, right? These green flags that you should be looking for. I don't hear people talking about them, but I personally find them to be critical. When I'm coaching men and women, I see this coming up all the time. When I see relationships fall apart, it's almost always one of these 6 things are going on. And if you think about your past relationships, as you think about these lists, let me know in the comments below. Which of these was it that caused the relationship your breakdown? Was it multiple items here? If you had have identified some of these as red flags, right, because they didn't have them, would you have avoided the relationship with these exes where things went really, really sour? Let me know in the comments below, guys, because this is the kind of stuff that I think more of us need to talk about, because finding a long-term partner is no small thing. The right partner makes your life amazing. The wrong partner makes your life a living hell. And that's something that I'm really, really passionate about. As always, guys, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos.